Hi everybody, I am Brendan Goff. I am the owner and head brewer here at Liquid Gravity. We have a pretty cool beer for you today. It is a German style lager, pretty traditional. Munich Helles is the official style. We'll get into the beer in just a minute. I'll give you a brief little background kind of on who I am and where I came from and you know what our brewery is about. So I've been in the industry for about 10 years. I was most recently the head brewer over at Central Coast Brewing, and I brewed up at Firestone Walker before that. And so, you know, this project, the Liquid Gravity, is really, you know, my passion project. This is where, you know, I was able to take, you know, the experience that I've gained through working in this industry for a long time and to come and kind of put my own stamp on it and to build my own brand and to do the beers that I wanted the way I wanted and to kind of have fun doing it. So I'm excited to be able to share these with you and kind of be able to introduce myself and our brand to you all. And so I thank you for joining in on such a cool event, and I want to say thank you to everybody that helped put this on. It's in the times that we're living in right now, to be able to get together even virtually is still important, you know. So I want to dive into the beer a little bit with you, and so I am going to enjoy one here as well. So one of the things you'll notice about our beers is that, you know, I really try to make a point to get really good head retention. And a lot of you may be looking at that thinking like, oh, that's too much foam. For me, on these German style beers, that nice moussey foam on top of the beer is such a big part of the experience. You almost want to kind of, you know, have to fight through that foam a little bit to get to the beer. It'll leave you, you know, remember the old milk mustache? Well, this will leave you a beer mustache. And so this lager, you know, we carbonate it up a little higher than maybe you would see a lot of other people who are brewing similar beers. But a lot of it, again, to me, is just that moussey head and that really effervescent carbonation is such an important part of the experience, especially with these lager beers. And so I like to actually pour it, let that foam collapse and settle down a little bit, and as it settles, it'll actually become more dense. And so as you get that denser foam, it'll get even moussier and even thicker on there. And so we'll just kind of pour it and let it settle, and pour it and let it settle. You'll hear the term slow pour as a kind of a trendy way of pouring German style beers. It's starting to catch on in the US a little bit. But it really does stack that foam on there and condense in it, and you end up with a much more dense head on the beer, and it's just kind of a beautiful thing to see too. I mean, it'll start billowing out of the top of the glass like that. You know, I love that look, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but you know, the effervescence from that carbonation is just, you know, I mean, you can see it. It's active. It's lively. So we'll get the rest of that thing poured in there. So I always like to try to send these beers out. If you ever come to the brewery, I do occasionally pour beer for, you know, trying to help out, and I like to send beers out to the tables like, you know, when they have that big rocky head on them. So don't be alarmed when you pour it if you get more head than you're used to. We carbonate this German style beer higher than you typically would find most beers in a can. And so that is sort of the first part of the experience here. All right, we're ready. So tasting notes on this one. Again, it's a very traditional German style lager. And so we're using all continental Pilsner malt. That's Pilsner malt that's been grown in Germany. It's hops that have been grown in Germany, and it's yeast from a famous German brewery as well. So the yeast that we're using actually comes from the Augustiner brewery, It's one of my favorites. It helps keep things really nice and tight and crisp, and has that signature little touch of sulfur on the fermentation. It's just very, very classic and traditional German style beer. And so when I get into the aroma on this thing, I get a little bit of kind of like a graham cracker kind of aroma, and that Pilsner malt is what's going to contribute that. And so it's this Pilsner malt is very, very lightly kilned, and so you get that kind of crackery, little bit of that graham cracker. It almost hints at sweetness in the aroma. Sweetness isn't really an aroma. It's obviously more on the palate, but it alludes to some. It reminds you of things that are a little sweet, and so. And this beer definitely leans a little more towards the malty and sweet side, where something like a Pilsner is going to be more on the dry, more on the bitter side. This beer really is, it's that perfect balance. It's got just enough bitterness, a little sweetness to kind of balance out that bitterness, and just a really, really drinkable, crushable German style lager. So we'll get into the first sip here. So again, you'll find, I think you'll find the same characteristics on the palate that you smell. You have that little graham cracker type sweetness, and that's backed up with a little bit of a floral, a floral character. But really, this beer is sort of a showcase of that German Pilsner malt. And so it's very simple. We have a quote on here that life can be beautiful in its simplicity, and that this German style beer is no different. It's not trying to be too much. It really is. As a brewer, we go through our whole day thinking, talking, living beer, and it's great. Some of the really complex styles, the big stouts, the heavily hopped IPAs, all that stuff is wonderful. It's one of the things we love about it, about beer. But it's also nice to just kind of have something that you don't have to think about as well. And to me, that's why on a lot of our cans, we'll take the opportunity on the back to let you know about that beer, whether it's the flavor profile we're going for, or some sort of history on either that style, or just some way to communicate, to people who will be buying the beer, what it is. And we kind of bucked that tradition on this can, where that space we would usually write that. We decided just to let you know that it's a lager. And so, this truly is that beer that is wonderfully balanced. It has nuance and finesse, but it's not overly complicated. And so it's something that you can kind of just crack and drink while you're barbecuing. Something that you can mix in between your hazy IPAs and your pastry stouts and everything else, or whatever you're drinking. It's a good kind of beer in the middle that can help cut some of that stuff. And so I'm going to have another sip here with you. So I hope you enjoy it. I do want to take a minute just to kind of talk about some of the other stuff we do and the other beers that we brew. We grab a couple cans. So just to kind of give you an idea of some of the other stuff that we do around here. Obviously, we do love our hops, and we do love our IPAs. It's a big part of I think what we are kind of becoming known for. Liquid Gravity IPA is our kind of signature IPA. Big, heavily hopped with Centennial and Mosaic. Really beautiful, balanced beer that is. It's hop forward, but it still remains balanced and very drinkable. The bitterness isn't over the top. It is kind of a modern interpretation of that West Coast IPA style. It's got a little lower bitterness than maybe you traditionally would have found 5 or 10 years ago. And it's big kind of new school hop presence with the mosaic. And this one is kind of our signature beer. Hop tripping. We obviously also are doing a fair amount of hazy IPAs. Excuse me. So these two are both examples of ones that we've brewed in the past. This is Hop Trippin', which is our current hazy double IPA, and we've got this one. You should be able to find this one kind of out and about. The other beer here on the list is our Atomic Guava, and that one is a kettle sour that we brew with just loads of guava and citrus zest in it, really bright, fresh, effervescent. But all of these beers, I think, are a pretty good representation of kind of what our brewery does and is about. We go everywhere from clean, classic German-style beers, into kettle sours and West Coast IPAs, and obviously the big hazy, juicy IPAs are really, really big right now. And so I think if I had to kind of sum up what we're about and what I think we do well, this is kind of the showcase of it. And so we hope you enjoy the lager that you guys are able to taste on the virtual fest here. And then we'd like to see you come in to the tasting room. And if you see me, go ahead and grab me and say hi, and I'll have a beer with you. All right, thank you.